The sky burned red the day the Zorthak Dominion arrived. A T first. Humanity mistook it for an aurora. Brilliant streaks of light tearing across the heavens. But those streaks weren't beauty. They were warships, cutting through Earth's atmosphere like knives through flesh. The invasion was swift. Cities were flattened within hours. Governments collapsed within days. Humanity had thought itself powerful, armed with nuclear weapons and armies of millions. Yet in front of plasma cannons and gravity weapons, tanks and fighter jets were nothing more than toys. That'd be why, the end of the first month, Earth was no longer free. The Zorthak raised their black and silver banners over shattered capitals. Millions of humans were rounded up and branded as labor stock. Families were separated. Resistance cells formed in the ruins, but they were crushed mercilessly. For the Dominion, it was simply routine, one more primitive world bent beneath their will. They had conquered hundreds before. To them, Earth was just another number on their ledger. But they had underestimated something that in the ruins of Karachi, where the smell of smoke and blood filled the air, a single soldier still fought. His name was Captain Arman Haleem, once of the Pakistani Armed Forces. His regiment had been obliterated in the first wave of the invasion. He should have been dead alongside them. But Arman refused. He staggered through rubble with a shattered rifle, scavenging ammunition from the fallen. His uniform burned and bloodied. His body carried wounds that should have ended him 10 times over. Plasma burns across his chest, a gash on his leg that left a trail of blood with every step. But his eyes, dark, burning, unyielding, never faltered. The Zorthak soldiers, towering reptilian beings armored in black carapace, were not accustomed to prolonged fights. Most species they conquered surrendered quickly, broken by fear. When Arman's figure rose from a collapsed street, limping yet charging at them with a rifle half melted from heat, the aliens hesitated. They shot him. Plasma bolts seared his side, sent him tumbling to the ground. His heart thundered in his ears. The edges of his vision blurred. Any other being would have surrendered to the blackness, but Arman pushed himself up. His fingers dug into the rubble, dragging himself back to his feet. With a roar that tore his throat raw, he fired, cutting down one alien in a blaze of defiance. The squad of Zorthak froze. Impossible. One hissed in their guttural tone. He should be dead. He was dead. Again, they fired. Again, he fell. Again, he rose. Arman wasn't immortal. He felt every ounce of agony. His body screamed at him to lie down, to surrender, to let the darkness take him. But something deeper than flesh drove him. A stubborn flame that refused to go out. He thought of his mother's smile, of his younger brother's laughter, of the world that had been stolen. As long as he still breathed, he would not stop to be why the time reinforcements arrived. Half the alien squad lay broken on the ground, cut down by a single wounded man who refused to die. The surviving Zorthak dragged their injured away, whispering in shaken voices to their commanders. Their report would travel quickly. The humans are not what we believed. They do not fall. They rise again. They are immortal. The Dominion had cataloged countless species, studied their biology, dissected their weaknesses. But never had they encountered creatures so fragile, yet so unyielding. To them, the human soldier on the ruins of Karachi was not a man. He was a monster, something unnatural. Captain Arman collapsed finally, vision dimming, his body unable to carry him further. But even his unconsciousness took him. His hands still gripped his weapon tightly. He did not let go. And in that moment, across the Dominion's networks, a new name began to spread, whispered first as fear, then as legend. The Zorthak Dominion stretched across hundreds of star systems. Worlds bent beneath its claws, and species older and stronger than humanity had been reduced to obedient servants. For centuries, the Dominion's council had ruled without challenge, their authority absolute. And yet, in the high chambers of their capital world, the air trembled with unease. The council chamber was a cathedral of black steel and pulsing light. Massive screens displayed reports from Earth, ruined cities, enslaved populations, compliant governors appointed by the Dominion. By all accounts, the conquest was complete. But one report refused to vanish. A single battle log replayed again and again on the central screen. A human soldier, covered in blood, staggering through fire and rubble. Plasma bolts tore through him. Yet each time, impossibly, he rose again. His voice, a ragged scream, echoed through the recording as he charged at an entire squad. The Zorthak soldiers in the video could be heard shouting, their voices trembling. "He does not die. He does not die." Counselor Valak, scales gleaming under the chamber light, slammed his claw against the table. "This is a trick," he growled. "Primitive theatrics. The humans are weak. We broke their armies in a month." "But the record is clear," replied Counselor Shurath, her voice low and measured. "Our soldiers witnessed it. Their weapons struck, his body failed, yet he rose. Again and again. Perhaps we face something we do not understand." The chamber rippled with murmurs. Dominion science prided itself on absolute knowledge. Every conquered race was dissected, catalogued, stripped bare of mystery. Yet here, before their eyes, was a mystery that defied explanation. The junior officer stepped forward, trembling as he delivered his report. "Honored counselors, the humans whisper of him already. They call him Arman. Our soldiers call him something else. They call him the Unkillable Soldier." The title hung in the air like a curse. Counselor Valak scoffed. "One soldier does not matter. Crush him. Burn the ruins he hides in." But even as he spoke, others shook their heads. Counselor Shurath's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand, Valak. This is no longer about one soldier. It is about the idea. Already, resistance cells across Earth have heard the tale. They say their kind cannot die. They believe themselves eternal. And belief," another counselor hissed, "is more dangerous than plasma fire." The Dominion understood fear better than any weapon. Fear was how they ruled, how they broke the will of conquered worlds. But now, in the ruins of a small human city, the balance had shifted. For the first time in centuries, fear was turning back upon them. Across Earth, Zorthak patrols grew uneasy. When they marched through destroyed towns, humans glared at them with defiant eyes, whispering to each other, "We do not die. We rise again." Soldiers hesitated to enter battle, remembering the sight of their comrades torn down by a man who refused death itself. Captain Arman Haleem, unconscious in a ruined safe house tended by survivors, had no idea of the storm his defiance had unleashed. To him, he had simply fought because surrender was unthinkable. But to the Dominion, he had become a phantom, a symbol of something their empire could not comprehend. The eye in the council chamber. Silence fell. Then Shurath spoke again, voice cold as ice. "Mark my words. If one human soldier can shake the will of our armies, then humanity itself is dangerous. They are fragile, yes. Their flesh burns, their bones break, but their spirit is not like others. It bends, but it does not shatter. We must extinguish it, or it will consume us." Valak sneered, but his claws trembled ever so slightly. "Then let the extermination begin. Find this unkillable soldier. Destroy him, and show the humans that myths cannot save them." But deep within the council, not all were convinced. Some remembered the recording, the fire in that man's eyes, the scream that shook hardened soldiers, and they wondered, could a myth be destroyed if the myth was true? As the meeting adjourned, the Dominion's fleets prepared to tighten their grip on Earth. Yet in their hearts, the first seeds of doubt had been planted. For the first time in generations, the conquerors felt the taste of fear. Arman woke to the sound of whispers. The air around him was thick with smoke, yet faint shafts of sunlight cut through broken walls. His body felt heavy, stitched with pain, each breath a labor. For a moment he wondered if he had finally crossed into death's embrace. But then he heard the voices. Soft, reverent, almost fearful. "He's awake. By God, he survived. The soldier who does not die." Slowly, Arman forced his eyes open. A group of survivors knelt beside him. Men, women, even children hiding in the ruins of their city. Their faces were tired, gaunt from hunger and grief. Yet in their eyes burned something new. Hope. You fought them, an old man whispered. "We saw it. They shot you down again and again, but you rose. They call you unkillable. And so do we." Arman tried to speak, his throat raw, but only a rasp escaped. He was no legend, no immortal. He knew how close he had been to death. His chest still ached where plasma had seared him. But looking into their eyes, he realized the truth. It didn't matter what he believed. What mattered was what they believed. For the first time since the invasion, the people of Earth had a symbol. In the weeks that followed, rumors spread like wildfire. From Karachi to Cairo, from ruined Moscow to broken New York, the tale of a soldier who could not die passed from mouth to mouth, carried by refugees, whispered by prisoners, broadcast in secret transmissions. Resistance fighters painted his image on walls. A soldier rising from fire, rifle in hand. They scrawled words beneath it in every language of Earth. "We do not die." The Dominion tried to crush the legend. They broadcast official decrees calling the story false, insisting humans were weak, fragile, breakable. They ordered soldiers to find and eliminate Captain Arman Haleem. But every strike only made the myth stronger. Zorthak patrols that once marched with arrogance now moved nervously through ruined streets, their black armor glinting in silence as whispers followed them. He is coming. The Unkillable One is watching. Arman himself, still healing, joined with a resistance cell. He fought when he could, taught when he could not, guiding survivors to strike at the Dominion. Yet everywhere he went, people bowed their heads to him. They brought him food, bandaged his wounds, called him by the name that had spread across the stars. The Unkillable Soldier. At first, he rejected it. He was just a man, scarred and broken, driven by duty. But as weeks turned to months, he understood something profound. The Dominion ruled through fear, but humans had found something stronger. Belief. Not belief in weapons or governments or armies. Belief in themselves. And so Arman let the legend grow. He became its vessel. When he walked into battle, resistance fighters rallied. When he fell and rose again, their courage doubled. Every wound he endured became proof of humanity's will. Far away, in the halls of the Dominion's council, commanders debated frantically. Reports poured in. Human uprisings everywhere. Resistance cells multiplying faster than they could be crushed. Soldiers refusing to fight, whispering that the humans could not be killed. "What is happening?" Valak roared, slamming his clawed fist into the table. "They are weak. They are nothing." But Shurath only stared coldly at the reports. "They are nothing," she said softly, "except for the fire in their spirit." And fire spreads. On Earth, the war was far from over. Cities still lay in ruins. The Dominion still held dominion over skies and oceans. Yet something fundamental had shifted. The Zorthak no longer saw humans as mere animals. They saw them as dangerous, as immortal in spirit, if not in flesh. And Captain Arman, limping through rubble with his weapon in hand, understood the truth. He was no unkillable soldier. But as long as he rose, as long as he refused to surrender, he would remind humanity of what they truly were. Unbreakable. Thus the legend was born. A man who would not die. A people who would not yield. And in the dark halls of the Dominion, for the first time in centuries, conquerors whispered not of victory, but of fear, because somewhere in the ashes of Earth, the fire still burned.